History and nature. Amazon River. The Amazon River, UK/MZN/US/MZN/, Spanish, Rio Amazonas, Portuguese, Rio Amazonas, in South America is the largest river by discharge volume of water in the world, and the disputed longest river system in the world in comparison to the Nile. The headwaters of the Apurimac River on Nevado Mismi had been considered for nearly a century the Amazon basin's most distant source until a 2014 study found it to be the headwaters of the Mantaro River on the Cordillera Rumicruz in Peru. The Mantaro and Apurimac rivers join, and with other tributaries form the Ucayali River, which in turn meets the Marañón River upstream of Iquitos, Peru, forming what countries other than Brazil consider to be the main stem of the Amazon. Brazilians call this section the Solimões River above its confluence with the Rio Negro, forming what Brazilians call the Amazon at the meeting of waters, Portuguese, Encontro das Águas, at Manaus, the largest city on the river. The Amazon River has an average discharge of about 215,000 to 230,000 m3/s, 7,600,000 to 8,100,000 CUFT/s, approximately 6,591 to 7,570 cubic kilometers, 1,581 to 1,816 cu-mi, per year, greater than the next 7 largest independent rivers combined. 2 of the top 10 rivers by discharge are tributaries of the Amazon River. The Amazon represents 20% of the global riverine discharge into oceans. The Amazon Basin is the largest drainage basin in the world, with an area of approximately 7 million square kilometers, 2,700,000 square miles. The portion of the river's drainage basin in Brazil alone is larger than any other river's basin. The Amazon enters Brazil with only 1/5 of the flow it finally discharges into the Atlantic Ocean, yet already has a greater flow at this point than the discharge of any other river. Etymology. The Amazon was initially known by Europeans as the Marañón, and the Peruvian part of the river is still known by that name today. It later became known as Rio Amazonas in Spanish and Portuguese. The name Rio Amazonas was reportedly given after native warriors attacked a 16th-century expedition by Francisco de Orellana. The warriors were led by women, reminding de Orellana of the Amazon warriors, a tribe of women warriors related to Iranian Scythians and Sarmatians mentioned in Greek mythology. The word Amazon itself may be derived from the Iranian compound *Kamazan, one, fighting together, or ethnonym *Kamazan warriors, a word attested indirectly through a derivation, a denominal verb in Hesychius of Alexandria's gloss mu alpha zeta alpha kappa rho alpha nu pi omicron lambda epsilon mu epsilon nu. Pyro sigma alpha iota, Hamazakaran, to make war in Persian, where it appears together with the Indo-Iranian root *kar make, from which Sanskrit karma is also derived. Other scholars, who claim that the name is derived from the Tupi word Amazona, meaning boat destroyer. Amazon River and its drainage basin. Native name Amazonas, Portuguese. Location, country Peru, Colombia, Brazil. City Iquitos, Peru, Leticia, Colombia. Tabatinga, Brazil. Tef, Brazil. Itacoatiara, Brazil. Parintins, Brazil. Abidos, Brazil. Santarém, Brazil. Almirim, Brazil. Macapa, Brazil. Manaus, Brazil. Physical characteristics. Source Rio Apurimac, Mismi Peak. Location Arequipa region, Peru. Coordinates 15°3104S 71°4137W. Elevation 5,220 meters, 17,130 feet. Mouth Atlantic Ocean. Location Brazil. Coordinates 0°4228 and 50°522W. 1. Length 6,500 kilometers, 4,000 miles, N1. Basin size 7 million square kilometers, 2,700,000 square miles. 2. 6,743,000 square kilometers, 2,603,000 square miles. 5. Width. Minimum 700 meters, 2,300 feet. Upper Amazon, 1.5 kilometers, 0.93 miles. Itacoatiara. Lower Amazon, 6. Average 3 kilometers, 1.9 miles. Middle Amazon, 5 kilometers, 3.1 miles, Lower Amazon, 6, 7. Maximum 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles, to 14 kilometers, 8.7 miles, Lower Amazon, wink with a frown 6, 8. 340 kilometers, 210 miles, estuary, 9. Depth. Average 15 meters, 49 feet, to 45 meters, 148 feet, Middle Amazon, 20 meters, 66 feet, to 50 meters, 160 feet, Lower Amazon, 6. Maximum 150 meters, 490 feet, Itacoatiara, 130 meters, 430 feet, Abydos, 6, 7. Discharge. Location Atlantic Ocean, near mouth. Average 215,000 cubic meters per second, 7,600,000 cubic feet per second, 230,000 m3/s, 8,100,000 cubic feet per second, 10, 11. Basin size, 5,956,000 square kilometers, 2,300,000 square miles, 12. 205,603.262 cubic meters per second, 7,260,810.7 cubic feet per second, 13. Basin size, 5,912,760.5 square kilometers, 2,282,929.6 square miles, 13. Minimum 180,000 cubic meters per second, 6,400,000 cubic feet per second. Maximum 340,000 cubic meters per second, 12 million cubic feet per second. Discharge. Location Amazon Delta, Amazon/Tocantins/Para. Average 230,000 cubic meters per second, 8,100,000 cubic feet per second. 5. Basin size, 6,743,000 square kilometers, 2,603,000 square miles. 5. To 7 million square kilometers, 2,700,000 square miles. 2. Discharge. Location Santorum. Average 191,624.043 cubic meters per second, 6,767,139.2 cubic feet per second. 13. Discharge. Location Abydos, 800 kilometers upstream of mouth. Basin size, 4,704,076 square kilometers, 1,816,254 square miles. Average 173,272.643 cubic meters per second, 6,119,065.6 cubic feet per second. 13. Period of data, 1928 to 1996, 176, 177 m3/s, 6,221,600 cubic feet per second. 14. Period of data, January 1st, 1997 to December 31st, 2015, 178, 193.9 m3/s, 6,292,860 cubic feet per second. 15. Minimum 75,602 cubic meters per second, 2,669,900 cubic feet per second. 14. Maximum 306,317 cubic meters per second, 10,817,500 cubic feet per second. 14. Discharge. Location Manakapuru, Solomois. Basin size, 2,147,736 square kilometers, 829,246 square miles. Average. Period of data, January 1st, 1997 to December 31st, 2015, 105,720 cubic meters per second, 3,733,000 cubic feet per second. 15. Basin features. Tributaries. Left Marañón, Nene, Napo, Ampiacu, Japura/Caqueta, Rio Negro/Guainía, Putumayo, Badajoz, Manakapuru, Yorubu, Uatuma, Namunda, Trombetas, Maikuru, Karua, Paru, Yari, Right Ucayali, Jandiatuba, Javari, Jutai, Jirua, Tef, Quarry, Purus, Madeira, Parana de Ramos, Tapajos, Coruna, Xingu, Para, Tocantins, Acara, Guama. History. Geological history. Recent geological studies suggest that for millions of years the Amazon River used to flow in the opposite direction, from east to west. Eventually, the Andes Mountains formed, blocking its flow to the Pacific Ocean, and causing it to switch directions to its current mouth in the Atlantic Ocean. Pre-Columbian era. Old drawing, from 1879, of Arapaima fishing at the Amazon River. During what many archaeologists called the formative stage, Amazonian societies were deeply involved in the emergence of South America's highland agrarian systems. The trade with Andean civilizations in the terrains of the headwaters in the Andes formed an essential contribution to the social and religious development of higher altitude civilizations like the Muisca and Incas. Early human settlements were typically based on low-lying hills or mounds. Shell mounds were the earliest evidence of habitation. They represent piles of human refuse, waste, and are mainly dated between 7500 BC and 4000 BC. They are associated with ceramic age cultures. No pre-ceramic shell mounds have been documented so far by archaeologists. Artificial earth platforms for entire villages are the second type of mounds. They are best represented by the Marajora culture. Figurative mounds are the most recent types of occupation. There is ample evidence that the areas surrounding the Amazon River were home to complex and large-scale indigenous societies, mainly chiefdoms who developed towns and cities. Archaeologists estimate that by the time the Spanish conquistador de Orellana traveled across the Amazon in 1541, more than 3 million indigenous people lived around the Amazon. These pre-Columbian settlements created highly developed civilizations. For instance, pre-Columbian indigenous people on the island of Marajo may have developed social stratification and supported a population of 100,000 people. To achieve this level of development, the indigenous inhabitants of the Amazon rainforest altered the forest's ecology by selective cultivation and the use of fire. Scientists argue that by burning areas of the forest repeatedly, the indigenous people caused the soil to become richer in nutrients. This created dark soil areas known as Terra Preta de Indio, Indian dark earth. Because of the Terra Preta, indigenous communities were able to make land fertile and thus sustainable for the large-scale agriculture needed to support their large populations and complex social structures. Further research has hypothesized that this practice began around 11,000 years ago. Some say that its effects on forest ecology and regional climate explain the otherwise inexplicable band of lower rainfall through the Amazon basin. Many indigenous tribes engaged in constant warfare. According to James S. Olson, the Munduraku expansion, in the 18th century, dislocated and displaced the Kawahib, breaking the tribe down into much smaller groups. Munduraku first came to the attention of Europeans in 1770 when they began a series of widespread attacks on Brazilian settlements along the Amazon River. Arrival of Europeans. Amazon tributaries near Manaus. In March 1500, Spanish conquistador Vicente Yanez Pinzon was the first documented European to sail up the Amazon River. Pinzon called the stream Rio Santa Maria del Mar Dulce, later shortened to Mar Dulce, literally, sweet sea, because of its fresh water pushing out into the ocean. Another Spanish explorer, Francisco de Orellana, was the first European to travel from the origins of the upstream river basins, situated in the Andes, to the mouth of the river. In this journey, Orellana baptized some of the affluents of the Amazonas like Rio Negro, Napo, and Juruá. The name Amazonas is thought to be taken from the native warriors that attacked this expedition, mostly women, that reminded de Orellana of the mythical female Amazon warriors from the ancient Hellenic culture in Greece. See also origin of the name. Exploration. Samuel Fritz's 1707 map showing the Amazon and the Orinoco. Gonzalo Pizarro set off in 1541 to explore east of Quito into the South American interior in search of El Dorado, the city of gold, and La Canela, the valley of cinnamon. He was accompanied by his second-in-command Francisco de Orellana. After 170 kilometers, 106 miles, the Coca River joined the Napo River. At a point now known as Porto Francisco de Orellana, the party stopped for a few weeks to build a boat just upriver from this confluence. They continued downriver through an uninhabited area, where they could not find food. Orellana offered and was ordered to follow the Napo River, then known as Rio de la Canela, Cinnamon River, and return with food for the party. Based on intelligence received from a captive native chief named Delacola, they expected to find food within a few days downriver by ascending another river to the north. De Orellana took about 57 men, the boat, and some canoes and left Pizarro's troops on December 26, 1541. However, de Orellana missed the confluence, probably with the Aguarico, where he was searching supplies for his men. By the time he and his men reached another village, many of them were sick from hunger and eating noxious plants, and near death. 7 men died in that village. His men threatened to mutiny if the expedition turned back to attempt to rejoin Pizarro, the party being over 100 leagues downstream at this point. He accepted to change the purpose of the expedition to discover new lands in the name of the King of Spain, and the men built a larger boat in which to navigate downstream. After a journey of 600 kilometers (370 miles) down the Napo River, they reached a further major confluence at a point near modern Iquitos, and then followed the upper Amazon, now known as the Solimões, for a further 1,200 kilometers (746 miles) to its confluence with the Rio Negro, near modern Manaus, which they reached on June 3, 1542. Regarding the initial mission of finding cinnamon, Pizarro reported to the king that they had found cinnamon trees, but that they could not be profitably harvested. True cinnamon, Cinnamomum verum, is not native to South America. Other related cinnamon-containing plants, of the family Lauraceae, are fairly common in that part of the Amazon, and Pizarro probably saw some of these. The expedition reached the mouth of the Amazon on August 24, 1542, demonstrating the practical navigability of the great river. Masked Dance and Wedding Feast of Ticuna Indians. Engravings for Bates's 1863 The Naturalist on the River Amazons. In 1560, another Spanish conquistador, Lope de Aguirre, may have made the second descent of the Amazon. Historians are uncertain whether the river he descended was the Amazon or the Orinoco River, which runs more or less parallel to the Amazon further north. Portuguese explorer Pedro Teixeira was the first European to travel up the entire river. He arrived in Quito in 1637, and returned via the same route. From 1648 to 1652, Portuguese-Brazilian bandeirante Antonio Raposo Tavares led an expedition from São Paulo overland to the mouth of the Amazon, investigating many of its tributaries, including the Rio Negro, and covering a distance of over 10,000 kilometers (6,200 miles). In what is currently in Brazil, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, Peru, and Venezuela, several colonial and religious settlements were established along the banks of primary rivers and tributaries for trade, slaving, and evangelization among the indigenous peoples of the vast rainforest, such as the Urarina. In the late 1600s, Czech Jesuit Father Samuel Fritz, an apostle of the Omegas, established some 40 mission villages. Fritz proposed that the Marañón River must be the source of the Amazon, noting on his 1707 map that the Marañón has its source on the southern shore of a lake that is called Loricoca, near Huánuco. Fritz reasoned that the Marañón is the largest river branch one encounters when journeying upstream, and lies farther to the west than any other tributary of the Amazon. For most of the 18th to 19th centuries and into the 20th century, the Marañón was generally considered the source of the Amazon. Scientific exploration. Early scientific, zoological, and botanical exploration of the Amazon River and basin took place from the 18th century through the first half of the 19th century. Charles-Marie de la Condamine explored the river in 1743. Alexander von Humboldt, 1799 to 1804. Johann Baptist von Spix and Carl Friedrich Philipp von Martius, 1817 to 1820. George von Langsdorff, 1826 to 1828. Henry Walter Bates and Alfred Russel Wallace, 1848 to 1859. Richard Spruce, 1849 to 1864. Post-colonial exploitation and settlement. Amazonas State. Amazon Theater Opera House in Manaus, built in 1896 during the rubber boom. Amazon Theater Opera House in Manaus, built in 1896 during the rubber boom. Metropolitan Cathedral of Santarém in Santarém, Brazil. Metropolitan Cathedral of Santarém in Santarém, Brazil. Iglesia Matriz in Iquitos, Peru. The Cabana Gem Revolt, 1835 to 1840, was directed against the white ruling class. It is estimated that from 30% to 40% of the population of Grão-Pará, estimated at 100,000 people, died. The population of the Brazilian portion of the Amazon basin in 1850 was perhaps 300,000, of whom about 175,000 were Europeans and 25,000 were slaves. The Brazilian Amazon's principal commercial city, Pará, now Belém, had from 10,000 to 12,000 inhabitants, including slaves. The town of Manaus, now Manaus, at the mouth of the Rio Negro, had a population between 1,000 and 1,500. All the remaining villages, as far up as Tabatinga, on the Brazilian frontier of Peru, were relatively small. On September 6, 1850, Emperor Pedro II of Brazil sanctioned a law authorizing steam navigation on the Amazon and gave the Viscount of Mauá, Irineu Evangelista de Souza, the task of putting it into effect. He organized the Companhia de Navegação e Comércio do Amazonas in Rio de Janeiro in 1852. In the following year it commenced operations with 4 small steamers, the Monarch, the Cometa, the Mirajo, and the Rio Negro. At first, navigation was principally confined to the main river, and even in 1857 a modification of the government contract only obliged the company to a monthly service between Pará and Manaus, with steamers of 200 tons cargo capacity, a second line to make 6 round voyages a year between Manaus and Tabatinga, and a third, 2 trips a month between Pará and Cometa. This was the first step in opening up the vast interior. The success of the venture called attention to the opportunities for economic exploitation of the Amazon, and a second company soon opened commerce on the Madeira, Purus, and Negro. A third established a line between Pará and Manaus, and a fourth found it profitable to navigate some of the smaller streams. In that same period, the Amazonas Company was increasing its fleet. Meanwhile, private individuals were building and running small steam craft of their own on the main river as well as on many of its tributaries. On July 31, 1867, the government of Brazil, constantly pressed by the maritime powers and by the countries encircling the upper Amazon basin, especially Peru, decreed the opening of the Amazon to all countries, but they limited this to certain defined points: Tabatinga, on the Amazon, Cometa, on the Tocantins, Santarém, on the Tapajos, Borba, on the Madeira, and Manaus, on the Rio Negro. The Brazilian decree took effect on September 7, 1867. Thanks in part to the mercantile development associated with steamboat navigation coupled with the internationally driven demand for natural rubber, the Peruvian city of Iquitos became a thriving, cosmopolitan center of commerce. Foreign companies settled in Iquitos, from where they controlled the extraction of rubber. In 1851 Iquitos had a population of 200, and by 1900 its population reached 20,000. In the 1860s, approximately 3,000 tons of rubber were being exported annually, and by 1911 annual exports had grown to 44,000 tons, representing 9.3% of Peru's exports. During the rubber boom, it is estimated that diseases brought by immigrants, such as typhus and malaria, killed 40,000 native Amazonians. The first direct foreign trade with Manaus commenced around 1874. Local trade along the river was carried on by the English successors to the Amazonas Company, the Amazon Steam Navigation Company, as well as numerous small steamboats, belonging to companies and firms engaged in the rubber trade, navigating the Negro, Madeira, Purus, and many other tributaries, such as the Marañón, to ports as distant as Nata, Peru. By the turn of the 20th century, the exports of the Amazon basin were India rubber, cacao beans, Brazil nuts, and a few other products of minor importance, such as pelts and exotic forest produce, resins, barks, woven hammocks, prized bird feathers, live animals, and extracted goods, such as lumber and gold. 20th century development. Manaus, the largest city in Amazonas, as seen from a NASA satellite image, surrounded by the dark Rio Negro and the muddy Amazon River. City of Manaus. Floating houses in Leticia, Colombia. Since colonial times, the Portuguese portion of the Amazon basin has remained a land largely undeveloped by agriculture and occupied by indigenous people who survived the arrival of European diseases. For centuries after the European discovery of the Amazon River, the total cultivated area in its basin was probably less than 65 square kilometers, 25 square miles, excluding the limited and crudely cultivated areas among the mountains at its extreme headwaters. This situation changed dramatically during the 20th century. Wary of foreign exploitation of the nation's resources, Brazilian governments in the 1940s set out to develop the interior, away from the seaboard where foreigners owned large tracts of land. The original architect of this expansion was President Getulio Vargas, with the demand for rubber from the Allied forces in World War II providing funding for the drive. In the 1960s, economic exploitation of the Amazon basin was seen as a way to fuel the economic miracle occurring at the time. This resulted in the development of Operation Amazon, an economic development project that brought large-scale agriculture and ranching to Amazonia. This was done through a combination of credit and fiscal incentives. However, in the 1970s the government took a new approach with the National Integration Program, PIN. A large-scale colonization program saw families from northeastern Brazil relocated to the land without people in the Amazon basin. This was done in conjunction with infrastructure projects, mainly the Trans-Amazonian Highway, Transamazônica. The Trans-Amazonian Highway's 3 pioneering highways were completed within 10 years but never fulfilled their promise. Large portions of the Trans-Amazonian and its accessory roads, such as BR-317, Manaus-Porto Velho, are derelict and impassable in the rainy season. Small towns and villages are scattered across the forest, and because its vegetation is so dense, some remote areas are still unexplored. Many settlements grew along the road from Brasilia to Belém with the Highway and National Integration Program. However, the program failed as the settlers were unequipped to live in the delicate rainforest ecosystem. This, although the government believed it could sustain millions, instead could sustain very few. With a population of 1.9 million people in 2014, Manaus is the largest city on the Amazon. Manaus alone makes up approximately 50% of the population of the largest Brazilian state of Amazonas. The racial makeup of the city is 64% Pardo, Mulatto and Mestizo, and 32% white. Although the Amazon River remains undammed, around 412 dams are in operation in the Amazon's tributary rivers. From these 412 dams, 151 are constructed over 6 of the main tributary rivers that drain into the Amazon. Since only 4% of the Amazon's hydropower potential has been developed in countries like Brazil, more damming projects are underway and hundreds more are planned. After witnessing the negative effects of environmental degradation, sedimentation, navigation and flood control caused by the Three Gorges Dam in the Yangtze River, scientists are worried that constructing more dams in the Amazon will harm its biodiversity in the same way by blocking fish spawning runs, reducing the flows of vital oil nutrients and clearing forests. Damming the Amazon River could potentially bring about the end of free-flowing rivers and contribute to an ecosystem collapse that will cause major social and environmental problems. Course, Origins, Main article, Source of the Amazon River. The Amazon was thought to originate from the Apaqueta Cliff in Arequipa at the Nevado Mismi, marked only by a wooden cross. Nevado Mismi, formerly considered to be the source of the Amazon. Marañón River in Peru. The most distant source of the Amazon was thought to be in the Apurimac River drainage for nearly a century. Such studies continued to be published even recently, such as in 1996, 2001, 2007, and 2008, where various authors identified the snow-capped 5,597 meters, 18,363 feet, Nevado Mismi Peak, located roughly 160 kilometers, 99 miles, west of Lake Titicaca and 700 kilometers, 430 miles, southeast of Lima, as the most distant source of the river. From that point, Quebrada Carhuasanta emerges from Nevado Mismi, joins Quebrada Apaqueta and soon forms Rio Loqueta, which becomes Rio Hornillos and eventually joins the Rio Apurimac. A 2014 study by Americans James Kontos and Nicholas Tripsevich in Area, a peer-reviewed journal of the Royal Geographical Society, however, identifies the most distant source of the Amazon as actually being in the Rio Mantaro drainage. A variety of methods were used to compare the lengths of the Mantaro River versus the Apurimac River from their most distant source points to their confluence, showing the longer length of the Mantaro. Then distances from Lago Junin to several potential source points in the uppermost Mantaro River were measured, which enabled them to determine that the Cordillera Rumi Cruz was the most distant source of water in the Mantaro Basin, and therefore in the entire Amazon Basin. The most accurate measurement method was direct GPS measurement obtained by kayak descent of each of the rivers from their source points to their confluence, performed by Kontos. Obtaining these measurements was difficult given the Class 4V nature of each of these rivers, especially in their lower abyss sections. Ultimately, they determined that the most distant point in the Mantaro drainage is nearly 80 kilometers farther upstream compared to Mismi in the Apurimac drainage, and thus the maximal length of the Amazon River is about 80 kilometers longer than previously thought. Kontos continued downstream to the ocean and finished the first complete descent of the Amazon River from its newly identified source, finishing November 2012, a journey repeated by two groups after the news spread. After about 700 kilometers 430 miles, the Apurimac then joins Rio Mantaro to form the Ain, which joins the Parin to form the Tambo, which joins the Urubamba River to form the Ucayali. After the confluence of Apurimac and Ucayali, the river leaves the Andean terrain and is surrounded by floodplains. From this point to the confluence of the Ucayali and the Marañón, some 1,600 kilometers, 990 miles, the forested banks are just above the water and are inundated long before the river attains its maximum flood stage. The low river banks are interrupted by only a few hills, and the river enters the enormous Amazon rainforest. The Upper Amazon or Solimões. Amazon River near Iquitos, Peru. Although the Ucayali-Marañón confluence is the point at which most geographers place the beginning of the Amazon River proper, in Brazil the river is known at this point as the Solimões das Águas. The river systems and floodplains in Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela, whose waters drain into the Solimões and its tributaries, are called the Upper Amazon. The Amazon proper runs mostly through Brazil and Peru, and is part of the border between Colombia and Peru. It has a series of major tributaries in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, some of which flow into the Marañón and Ucayali, and others directly into the Amazon proper. These include rivers Putumayo, Caqueta, Vopes, Guinea, Morona, Pastaza, Nucure, Urituyacu, Chambera, Tigre, Nanay, Napo, and Huallaga. At some points, the river divides into ana branches, or multiple channels, often very long, with inland and lateral channels, all connected by a complicated system of natural canals, cutting the low, flat Agapo lands, which are never more than 5 meters 16 feet above the low river, into many islands. From the town of Canaria at the Great Bend of the Amazon to the Negro, vast areas of land are submerged at high water, above which only the upper part of the trees of the somber forests appear. Near the mouth of the Rio Negro to Serpa, nearly opposite the river Madeira, the banks of the Amazon are low, until approaching Manaus, they rise to become rolling hills. The Lower Amazon. Meeting of waters, the confluence of Rio Negro, Blue, and Rio Solimões, Sandy, near Manaus, Brazil. Water samples of the Solimões, right, and Rio Negro, left. The Lower Amazon begins where the darkly colored waters of the Rio Negro meet the sandy-colored Rio Solimões, the Upper Amazon, and for over 6 kilometers, 3.7 miles, these waters run side by side without mixing. At Abidos, a bluff 17 meters, 56 feet above the river is backed by low hills. The Lower Amazon seems to have once been a gulf of the Atlantic Ocean, the waters of which washed the cliffs near Abydos. Only about 10% of the Amazon's water enters downstream of Abydos, very little of which is from the northern slope of the valley. The drainage area of the Amazon basin above Abydos city is about 5 million square kilometers, 1,900,000 square miles, and, below, only about 1 million square kilometers, 390,000 square miles, around 20%, exclusive of the 1,400,000 square kilometers, 540,000 square miles, of the Tocantins basin. The Tocantins River enters the southern portion of the Amazon Delta. In the lower reaches of the river, the north bank consists of a series of steep, table-topped hills extending for about 240 kilometers, 150 miles, from opposite the mouth of the Xingu as far as Monte Alegre. These hills are cut down to a kind of terrace which lies between them and the river. On the south bank, above the Xingu, a line of low bluffs bordering the floodplain extends nearly to Santarém in a series of gentle curves before they bend to the southwest, and, abutting upon the lower Tapajos, merge into the bluffs which form the terrace margin of the Tapajos River Valley. Mouth. Satellite image of the mouth of the Amazon River, from the north looking south. Belém is the major city and port at the mouth of the river in the Atlantic Ocean. The definition of where exactly the mouth of the Amazon is located, and how wide it is a matter of dispute, because of the area's peculiar geography. The Para and the Amazon are connected by a series of river channels called from near the town of Brives. Between them lies Marajo, the world's largest combined river/sea island. If the Para River and the Marajo Island ocean frontage are included, the Amazon estuary is some 325 kilometers, 202 miles wide. In this case, the width of the mouth of the river is usually measured from Cabo Norte, the cape located straight east of Percoba in the Brazilian state of Amapá, to Ponta de Tijuca near the town of Quiruca in the state of Para. A more conservative measurement excluding the Para River estuary, from the mouth of the Araguari River to Ponta do Navio on the northern coast of Marajo, would still give the mouth of the Amazon a width of over 180 kilometers, 112 miles. If only the river's main channel is considered, between the islands of Corua, state of Amapá, and Jurupari, state of Para, the width falls to about 15 kilometers, 9.3 miles. The plume generated by the river's discharge covers up to 1.3 million square kilometers and is responsible for muddy bottoms influencing a wide area of the tropical North Atlantic in terms of salinity, pH, light penetration, and sedimentation. Lack of bridges. There are no bridges across the entire width of the river. This is not because the river would be too wide to bridge. For most of its length, engineers could build a bridge across the river easily. For most of its course, the river flows through the Amazon rainforest, where there are very few roads and cities. Most of the time, the crossing can be done by ferry. The Manaus-Irandaba Bridge linking the cities of Manaus and Irandaba spans the Rio Negro, the second largest tributary of the Amazon, just before their confluence. Dispute regarding length. River taxi in Peru. See also, coastline paradox. While the debate as to whether the Amazon or the Nile is the world's longest river has gone on for many years, the historic consensus of geographic authorities has been to regard the Amazon as the second longest river in the world, with the Nile being the longest. However, the Amazon has been reported as being anywhere between 6,275 kilometers, 3,899 miles, and 6,992 kilometers, 4,345 miles long. It is often said to be at least 6,575 kilometers, 4,086 miles long. The Nile is reported to be anywhere from 5,499 to 7,088 kilometers, 3,417 to 4,404 miles. Often it is said to be about 6,650 kilometers, 4,130 miles long. There are several factors that can affect these measurements, such as the position of the geographical source and the mouth, the scale of measurement, and the length measuring techniques. For details, see also List of rivers by length. In July 2008, the Brazilian Institute for Space Research, INPE, published a news article on its webpage, claiming that the Amazon River was 140 kilometers (87 miles) longer than the Nile. The Amazon's length was calculated as 6,992 kilometers (4,345 miles), taking the Apiqueta Creek as its source. Using the same techniques, the length of the Nile was calculated as 6,853 kilometers (4,258 miles), which is longer than previous estimates but still shorter than the Amazon. The results were reached by measuring the Amazon downstream to the beginning of the tidal estuary of Canal do Sul and then, after a sharp turn back, following tidal canals surrounding the Isle of Marajo and finally including the marine waters of the Rio Para Bay in its entire length. According to an earlier article on the web page of National Geographic, the Amazon's length was calculated as 6,800 kilometers (4,200 miles) by a Brazilian scientist. In June 2007, Guido Gelli, director of science at the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, IBGE, told London's Telegraph newspaper that it could be considered that the Amazon was the longest river in the world. However, according to the above sources, none of the two results was published, and questions were raised about the researchers' methodology. In 2009, a peer-reviewed article was published, concluding that the Nile is longer than the Amazon by stating a length of 7,088 kilometers (4,404 miles) for the Nile and 6,575 kilometers (4,086 miles) for the Amazon, measured by using a combination of satellite image analysis and field investigations to the source regions. According to the Encyclopaedia Britannica, the final length of the Amazon remains open to interpretation and continued debate. Watershed. Main article, Amazon Basin. The Amazon Basin, the largest in the world, covers about 40% of South America, an area of approximately 7,050,000 square kilometers, 2,720,000 square miles. It drains from west to east, from Iquitos in Peru across Brazil to the Atlantic. It gathers its waters from 5 degrees north latitude to 20 degrees south latitude. Its most remote sources are found on the Interandean Plateau, just a short distance from the Pacific Ocean. The Amazon River and its tributaries are characterized by extensive forested areas that become flooded every rainy season. Every year, the river rises more than 9 meters 30 feet, flooding the surrounding forests, known as várzea, flooded forests. The Amazon's flooded forests are the most extensive example of this habitat type in the world. In an average dry season, 110,000 square kilometers, 42,000 square miles, of land are water-covered, while in the wet season, the flooded area of the Amazon basin rises to 350,000 square kilometers, 140,000 square miles. The quantity of water released by the Amazon to the Atlantic Ocean is enormous, up to 300,000 cubic meters per second, 11 million cubic feet per second, in the rainy season, with an average of 209,000 cubic meters per second, 7,400,000 cubic feet per second, from 1973 to 1990. The Amazon is responsible for about 20% of the Earth's fresh water entering the ocean. The river pushes a vast plume of fresh water into the ocean. The plume is about 400 kilometers, 250 miles, long and between 100 and 200 kilometers, 62 and 124 miles, wide. The fresh water, being lighter, flows on top of the seawater, diluting the salinity and altering the color of the ocean surface over an area up to 2,500,000 square kilometers, 970,000 square miles, in extent. For centuries, ships have reported fresh water near the Amazon's mouth, yet well out of sight of land in what otherwise seemed to be the open ocean. The Atlantic has sufficient wave and tidal energy to carry most of the Amazon's sediments out to sea, thus the Amazon does not form a true delta. The great deltas of the world are all in relatively protected bodies of water, while the Amazon empties directly into the turbulent Atlantic. There is a natural water union between the Amazon and the Orinoco basins, the so-called Casiquiare Canal. The Casiquiare is a river distributary of the upper Orinoco, which flows southward into the Rio Negro, which in turn flows into the Amazon. The Casiquiare is the largest river on Earth that links two major river systems, a so-called bifurcation. Discharge. Average discharge at the estuary, period from 2003 to 2015, 7,200 cubic kilometers per a, 230,000 cubic meters per second. Year, km3, m3/s. Year, km3, m3/s. 2003, 6,470, 205,000, 2010, 6,464, 205,000, 2004, 6,747, 214,000, 2011, 7,378, 234,000. 2005, 6,522, 207,000, 2012, 7,513, 238,000, 2006, 7,829, 248,000, 2013, 7,288, 231,000. 2007, 7,133, 226,000, 2014, 7,674, 243,000, 2008, 7,725, 245,000, 2015, 6,657, 211,000, 2009, 8,200, 260,000. Average discharge at Abydos Gauge Station, period from 1969 to 2018, 5,520 cubic kilometers per a, 175,000 cubic meters per second. Year, km3, m3/s. Year, km3, m3/s. 1969, 4,813, 152,500. 1994, 6,184, 196,000. 1975, 187, 164,400. 1995, 4,887, 154,900. 1971, 5,810, 184,100. 1996, 5,685, 180,300. 1972, 5,735, 181,700. 1997, 5,336, 169,200. 1973, 5,723, 181,350. 1998, 4,713, 149,400. 1974, 6,084, 192,800. 1999, 5,860, 185,100. 1975, 6,122, 194,000. 2000, 5,735, 181,800. 1976, 5,885, 186,500. 2001, 5,536, 175,500. 1977, 5,561, 176,200. 2002, 5,598, 177,500. 1978, 5,660, 179,400. 2003, 5,387, 170,800. 1979, 5,350, 169,500. 2004, 5,207, 165,100. 1984, 5,563, 144,600. 2005, 5,104, 161,800. 1981, 4,838, 153,300. 2006, 5,825, 184,700. 1982, 5,760, 182,500. 2007, 5,490, 174,100. 1983, 4,538, 143,800. 2008, 6,090, 193,000. 1984, 5,536, 175,400. 2009, 6,264, 198,500. 1985 5,187 164,400 2010 5,233 165,800 1986 5,785 183,300 2011 5,568 176,400 1987 5,261 166,700 2012 5,877 186,200 1988 5,286 167,500 2013 6,083 192,800 1989 6,284 199,100 2014 6,212 196,850 1995 168,700 2015 5,890 186,650 1991 5,424 171,900 2016 5,025 159,200 1992 4,390 139,100 2017 5,710 180,900 1993 5,710 180,900 2018 5,685 180,150 Average discharge Q 173,000 cubic meters per second and sediment load S 754 by 106 tons/year at Abydos Gauge Station, period from 1996 to 2007. Year QS 1996 180,300 672 2002 177,500 802 1997 169,200 691 2003 170,800 832 1998 149,400 652 2004 165,100 807 1999 185,800 732 2005 161,800 797 2000 181,800 692 2006 184,700 742 2001 175,500 787 2007 174,100 842 Flooding. NASA satellite image of a flooded portion of the river. Not all of the Amazon's tributaries flood at the same time of the year. Many branches begin flooding in November and might continue to rise until June. The rise of the Rio Negro starts in February or March and begins to recede in June. The Madeira River rises and falls 2 months earlier than most of the rest of the Amazon River. The depth of the Amazon between Manacapuru and Abydos has been calculated as between 20 and 26 m, 66 and 85 feet. At Manacapuru, the Amazon's water level is only about 24 meters, 79 feet above mean sea level. More than half of the water in the Amazon downstream of Manacapuru is below sea level. In its lowermost section, the Amazon's depth averages 20 to 50 m, 66 to 164 feet, in some places as much as 100 meters, 330 feet. The main river is navigable for large ocean steamers to Manaus, 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles, upriver from the mouth. Smaller ocean vessels below 9,000 tons and with less than 5.5 meters, 18 feet draft can reach as far as Iquitos, Peru, 3,600 kilometers, 2,200 miles from the sea. Smaller riverboats can reach 780 kilometers, 480 miles higher, as far as Achual Point. Beyond that, small boats frequently ascend to the Pongo de Manseriche, just above Achual Point in Peru. Annual flooding occurs in late northern latitude winter at high tide when the incoming waters of the Atlantic are funneled into the Amazon Delta. The resulting undulate tidal bore is called the Pororoca, with a leading wave that can be up to 7.6 meters, 25 feet high and travel up to 800 kilometers, 500 miles inland. Geology. The Amazon River originated as a transcontinental river in the Miocene epoch between 11.8 million and 11.3 million years ago and took its present shape approximately 2.4 million years ago in the early Pleistocene. The Proto-Amazon during the Cretaceous flowed west, as part of a Proto-Amazon-Congo river system, from the interior of present-day Africa when the continents were connected, forming western Gondwana. 80 million years ago, the two continents split. 15 million years ago, the main tectonic uplift phase of the Andean chain started. This tectonic movement is caused by the subduction of the Nazca Plate underneath the South American Plate. The rise of the Andes and the linkage of the Brazilian and Guyana bedrock shields, clarification needed, blocked the river and caused the Amazon basin to become a vast inland sea. Gradually, this inland sea became a massive swampy, freshwater lake and the marine inhabitants adapted to life in freshwater. 11 to 10 million years ago, waters worked through the sandstone from the west and the Amazon began to flow eastward, leading to the emergence of the Amazon rainforest. During glacial periods, sea levels dropped and the Great Amazon Lake rapidly drained and became a river, which would eventually become the disputed world's longest, draining the most extensive area of rainforest on the planet. Paralleling the Amazon River is a large aquifer, dubbed the Hamza River, the discovery of which was made public in August 2011. Protected areas. Name country coordinates. Image notes. Alpueo Mishana National Reserve, Peru, 3 degrees 56 minutes south, 73 degrees 33 minutes west. Crypturellus duity. Amakayaku National Park, Colombia, 3 degrees 29 minutes south, 72 degrees 12 minutes west. Amazonia National Park, Brazil, 4 degrees 26 minutes south, 56 degrees 50 minutes west. Anavilhanas National Park, Brazil, 2 degrees 23 minutes south, 60 degrees 55 minutes west. Flora and fauna. See also, Biodiversity of Colombia Amazon Natural Region. Flora. See also the categories Flora of the Amazon and Trees of the Amazon rainforest. Fauna. The tambaqui, an important species in Amazonian fisheries, breeds in the Amazon River. See also, category Fauna of the Amazon. More than 1/3 of all known species in the world live in the Amazon rainforest. It is the richest tropical forest in the world in terms of biodiversity. In addition to thousands of species of fish, the river supports crabs, algae, and turtles. Mammals. Amazon River dolphin. Along with the Orinoco, the Amazon is one of the main habitats of the boto, also known as the Amazon River dolphin, Inia geoffrensis. It is the largest species of river dolphin, and it can grow to lengths of up to 2.6 meters, 8.5 feet. The color of its skin changes with age. Young animals are gray, but become pink and then white as they mature. The dolphins use echolocation to navigate and hunt in the river's tricky depths. The boto is the subject of a legend in Brazil about a dolphin that turns into a man and seduces maidens by the riverside. The tucuxi, Sotalia fluviatilis, also a dolphin species, is found both in the rivers of the Amazon basin and in the coastal waters of South America. The Amazonian manatee, Trichuchus inunguis, also known as sea cow, is found in the northern Amazon River basin and its tributaries. It is a mammal and a herbivore. Its population is limited to freshwater habitats, and, unlike other manatees, it does not venture into saltwater. It is classified as vulnerable by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. The Amazon and its tributaries are the main habitat of the giant otter, Pteronura brasiliensis. Sometimes known as the river wolf, it is one of South America's top carnivores. Because of habitat destruction and hunting, its population has dramatically decreased. It is now listed on Appendix I of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, which effectively bans international trade. Reptiles. The anaconda is found in shallow waters in the Amazon basin. One of the world's largest species of snake, the anaconda spends most of its time in the water with just its nostrils above the surface. Species of caimans that are related to alligators and other crocodilians also inhabit the Amazon, as do varieties of turtles. Birds. Subcategories. This category has the following 6 subcategories, out of 6 total. Birds of the Bolivian Amazon, 108p. Birds of the Brazilian Amazon, 49p. Birds of the Colombian Amazon, 89p. Birds of the Ecuadorian Amazon, 146p. Birds of the Peruvian Amazon, 231p. Birds of the Venezuelan Amazon, 69p. Acletos, Atticora, Symbalamus, Dromacoxix, Fredericina, Hypocnemoids, Isleria, Onalornis, Percnostula, Phlegopsis, Piaia, Pithys, Regmaterina, Saxephorus, Sciaphylax, Thamnomanes, Titera, Willasornis, A. Acre toady tyrant, Agame heron, Alta floresta antpitta, Amazon kingfisher, Amazonian antpitta, Amazonian antshrike, Amazonian barred woodcreeper, Amazonian black tyrant, Amazonian anesia, Amazonian motmot, Amazonian pygmy owl, Amazonian royal flycatcher, Amazonian scrub flycatcher, Amazonian streaked antwren, Amazonian trogon, Amazonian umbrella bird, American pygmy kingfisher, ash-breasted antbird, ash-throated nateater, ash-winged antwren, ashy-headed greenlet. B. Band-rumped swift, band-tailed antbird, band-tailed antshrike, band-tailed hornero, band-tailed manakin, band-tailed nighthawk, band-tailed oripendula, banded antbird, bar-bellied woodcreeper, bar-breasted piculet, bare-necked fruit crow, barred antshrike, barred forest falcon, Bartlett's tinamou, bat falcon, bay hornero, bay-headed tanager, bicolored conebill, black antbird, black bushbird, black caracara, black curassow, black hawk eagle, black manakin, black and white antbird, black and white toady flycatcher, black-banded crake, black-banded owl, black-banded woodcreeper, black-bellied thorntail, black-breasted nateater, black-capped beckid, black-capped Donacobius, black-capped parakeet, black-crested antshrike, black-eared fairy, black-faced antbird, black-faced antthrush, black-faced hawk, black-faced tanager, black-fronted nunbird, black-girdled barbet, black-legged parrot, black-necked aracari, black-necked red cotinga, black-spotted bear-eye, black-tailed leaf-tosser, black-tailed myobius, black-tailed titera, black-tailed trogon, black-throated antbird, black-throated mango, black-throated trogon, blackish antbird, blackish nightjar, blackish rail, blackish gray antshrike, blue dacnus, blue and yellow macaw, blue-backed manakin, blue-black grassquit, blue-capped manakin, blue-chinned sapphire, blue-crowned trogon, blue-gray tanager, blue-headed parrot, blue-necked jacamar, blue-necked tanager, blue-tailed emerald, blue-throated piping guan, bluish-fronted jacamar, bluish-gray saltator, boat-billed flycatcher, boat-billed toady tyrant, Brazilian tinamou, bright-rumped attila, broad-billed motmot, bronzy jacamar. Brown-banded puffbird, brown-headed greenlet, brown-mandibled aracari, brown-rumped foliage gleaner, brown-throated parakeet, brown-winged chiffornis, brownish alenia, brownish twistwing, buff-breasted wren, buff-cheeked greenlet, buff-cheeked toady flycatcher, buff-necked ibis, buff-rumped warbler, buff-throated foliage gleaner, buff-throated saltator, buff-throated woodcreeper, burnished buff tanager, butterfly coquette. C. Campina J. Capped heron, capuchin bird, Castelnau's antshrike, channel-billed toucan, Chapman's swift, chestnut woodpecker, chestnut-backed antshrike, chestnut-bellied seed finch, chestnut-bellied seedeater, chestnut-belted nateater, chestnut-capped puffbird, chestnut-crowned beckid, chestnut-crowned foliage gleaner, chestnut-eared aracari, chestnut-fronted macaw, chestnut-headed chachalica, chestnut-headed crake, chestnut-headed nunlet, chestnut-rumped woodcreeper, chestnut-shouldered antwren, chestnut-throated spinetail, chestnut-winged foliage gleaner, chestnut-winged hookbill, Chico's tyrannulet, Cinereus mourner, Cinereus tinamou, cinnamon attila, cinnamon neopippo, cinnamon-crested spadebill, cinnamon-rumped foliage gleaner, cinnamon-throated woodcreeper, cobalt-rumped parrotlet, cobalt-winged parakeet, cocoa thrush, collared natron, collared puffbird, collared trogon, common ground dove, common scale-backed antbird, cone-billed tanager, copper seedeater, Correa wren, cream-colored woodpecker, crested eagle, crested oripendula, crested owl, crestless curassow, crimson fruit crow, crimson topaz, crimson-bellied parakeet, crimson-crested woodpecker, crimson-hooded manakin, cryptic forest falcon, curl-crested aracari, curve-billed scythebill, D. Dark-billed cuckoo, dark-breasted spinetail, dot-backed antbird, dot-winged antwron, dotted tanager, double-banded pygmy tyrant, double-collared seedeater, drab water tyrant, Duida wood creeper. Fish. Characins, such as the piranha species, are prey for the giant otter, but these aggressive fish may also pose a danger to humans. Neon tetra is one of the most popular aquarium fish. The Amazonian fish fauna is the center of diversity for neotropical fishes, some of which are popular aquarium specimens like the neon tetra and the freshwater angelfish. More than 5,600 species were known as of 2011, and approximately 50 new species are discovered each year. The arapaima, known in Brazil as the pirarucu, is a South American tropical freshwater fish, one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, with a length of up to 15 feet, 4.6 meters. Another Amazonian freshwater fish is the arowana, or arowana in Portuguese, such as the silver arowana, Osteoglossum bicerosum, which is a predator and very similar to the arapaima, but only reaches a length of 120 centimeters, 47 in. Also present in large numbers is the notorious piranha, an omnivorous fish that congregates in large schools and may attack livestock. There are approximately 30 to 60 species of piranha. The candaroo, native to the Amazon River, is a species of parasitic freshwater catfish in the family Trichomicteridae, just one of more than 1,200 species of catfish in the Amazon basin. Other catfish walk overland on their ventral fins, 93, while the kumakuma, Brachoplatystoma filamentosum aka pareba or Goliath catfish, can reach 3.6 meters, 12 feet, in length and 200 kilograms, 440 pounds, in weight. The electric eel, Electrophorus electricus, and more than 100 species of electric fishes, gymnotiforms, inhabit the Amazon basin. River stingrays, Potamotrigonidae, are also known. The bull shark, Carcharinus lucas, has been reported 4,000 kilometers, 2,500 miles, up the Amazon River at Iquitos in Peru. Butterflies. List of butterflies of the Amazon River basin and the Andes. A glass-winged butterfly Hetaera pyrrha, Canaima National Park, Venezuela. The Amazon River basin may be the most specious region for butterflies. 9 countries have territory in the Amazon River basin or immediately adjoin this region: Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. The Andes extend from north to south through 7 South American countries: Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. The fauna of the Andes is also diverse. Both regions have many endemic species. South America as a whole constitutes the neotropical realm. Habitats in these 2 regions are very various and include Amazon rainforest, Atlantic forest, Llanos grasslands, Puna grassland, and Valdivian temperate forests. Peru east of the Andes is regarded as the most important biodiversity hotspot in the world. The 2 regions, Amazon and Andes, are South America proper excluding the Pampas plains of Uruguay and Paraguay, which have a distinct butterfly fauna. Isolation has led to the evolution of endemic higher taxa. Instances are Ithomyini, Dysmorphini, Phasiodina, Pyropygini, Eumani, over 1,000 species, Pronophyllina, and Eudamini. Endemic genera, among very many, include Morpho, Agrias, Prepona caligo, Cytherias, Catagramma, Parides, Hamadryas, Nisaea, Marpesia, Melanes mesosemia, Samachia, Ivinus, Memphis, Pyrrhilla, and Astraptes. Other higher taxa are most speciose in the neotropics, for instance Rheodonini. Many species, notably Heliconius, are members of complex mimicry rings. Adaptive radiation has led to many species being geographically diverse. Examples are Consul Fabius and Mechanitis lycymnia. Notable entomologists associated with neotropical butterflies are Jean-Baptiste Goddard, Henry Walter Bates, William Chapman Hewitson, Hans Frustorfer, Otto Staudinger, Carl Jordan and Walter Rothschild, Anton Hermann Fassel, Hermann Burmeister, William Schaus, Eugene Lumolt, Richard Hensch, Gustav Weimer, Ferdinand Heinrich Hermann Strecker, Andrei Avanoff, Carlos Berg, and Vladimir Nabokov. Papilionidae, Papilionini, Batis bilis, Kramer, 1777, Batis ingenuus, Dyer, 1907, Batis laodamus, C. of Felder and R. Felder, 1859, Batis licitius, Kramer, 1777, Batis maties, Doubleday, 1846, Batis polydamus, Linnaeus, 1758, Batis polystictus, Butler, 1874. Euratides Bellerophon, Dalman, 1823, Euratides Callias, Rothschild and Jordan, 1906, Euratides Columbus, Collar, 1850, Euratides Dolichane, Kramer, 1775, Euratides Ephetus Hubner, 1821, Euratides Orabilis, Butler, 1872, Euratides Serville, Godart, 1824, Mimoids Ariarathes, Esper, 1788, Mimoids Eurilian, Hewitson, 1856, Mimoids Elos, Fabricius, 1793, Mimoids Lycithus, Hubner, 1821, Mimoids Microdamas, Burmeister, 1878, Mimoids Pausanias, Hewitson, 1852, Mimoids Phaon, Boisduval, 1836, Mimoids Protodamas, Godart, 1819, Mimoids Xeniades, Hewitson, 1867, Mimoids Zinnias, Hewitson, 1875, Papilio Androgus Kramer, 1775, Papilio Anchisiades Esper, 1788, Papilio Astylis Godart, 1819, Papilio Chiantiades Westwood, 1872, Papilio Cresfontes Kramer, 1777, Papilio Garlepi Staudinger, 1892, Papilio Homothoas Rothschild and Carl Jordan, 1906, Papilio Menatius, Hubner, 1819, Papilio Worswixii Hopfer, 1866, Papilio Pien Boisduval, 1836, Papilio Naine Pelt, 1909, Papilio Zagrus Doubleday, 1847, Papilio Bacchus C. Felder and R. Felder, 1865, Papilio Thoas Linnaeus, 1771, Papilio Torquatus Kramer, 1777, Papilio Hectorides Esper, 1794, Papilio Himeros Hopfer, 1866, Papilio Lamarckii Staudinger, 1892, Papilio Berchalii Hewitson, 1863, Papilio Helanicus Hewitson, 1868, Papilio Scamander Boisduval, 1836, Papilio Xanthopleura Godman and Salvin, 1868, Papilio Cassicus Lucas, 1852, Papilio Euterpinus Osbert Salvin and Godman, 1868, Parides Agavus, Drury, 1782, Parides Ascanius, Kramer, 1775, Parides Bunicus, Hubner, 1821, Parides Felicus, Hewitson, 1869, Parides Pronius, Hubner, 1831, Parides Clegisi, Ehrman, 1904, Parides Chabrias, Hewitson, 1852, Parides Coelis, Boisduval, 1836, Parides Honili, Staudinger, 1882, Parides Mithras, Grossmith, 1902, Parides Pizarro, Staudinger, 1884, Parides Quadratus, Staudinger, 1890, Parides Vercingetorix, Oberthur, 1888, Parides Aeneas, Linnaeus, 1758, Parides Aglape, Gray, 1853, Parides Burchellinus, Westwood, 1872, Parides Achaemen, Hubner, 1813, Parides Euramides, Stoll, 1782, Parides Lysander, Kramer, 1775, Parides Neophilus, Geyer, 1837, Parides Orellana, Hewitson, 1852, Parides Panthonus, Kramer, 1780, Parides Tros, Fabricius, 1793, Parides Zacynthus, Fabricius, 1793, Parides Child René, Gray, 1832, Parides Sesostris, Kramer, 1779, Parides Anchises, Linnaeus, 1758, Parides Cuterina, Staudinger, 1898, Parides Arathalion, Boisduval, 1836, Parides Iphidamas, Fabricius, 1793, Parides Panares, Gray, 1853. Parides Phosphorus, H. W. Bates, 1861, Parides Vertumnus, Kramer, 1779, Parides Vertumnus, Kramer, 1779, Protesilaeus Aguiari, de Almeida, 1937, Protesilaeus Iris, Rothschild and Jordan, 1906, Rothschild Swordtail. Protasilaus glaucolaus, H. W. Bates, 1864, Bates swordtail. Protasilaus helios, Rothschild and Jordan, 1906. Protasilaus leucocylus, J. Zekin, 1937. Protasilaus macrocylus, Gray, 1853. Protasilaus molops, Rothschild and Jordan, 1906. Protasilaus orthocylus, Weimer, 1899. Protasilaus Linnaeus, 1758. Protasilaus stenodesmus, Rothschild and Jordan, 1906. Protasilaus telesilaus, C. Felder and R. Felder, 1864. Telesilaus kite. Rhyodinidae. Atelotypa argiella, Bates, 1868. Atelotypa asemna, Stichel, 1910. Atelotypa bellina, Butler, 1867. Atelotypa borsipa, Hewitson, 1863. Atelotypa carulis, Hewitson, 1874. Atelotypa densimaculata, Hewitson, 1870. Atelotypa glauca, Godman and Salvin, 1886. Atelotypa malca, Schaus, 1902. Atelotypa mollis, Butler, 1877. Atelotypa penthea, Kramer, 1777. Atelotypa subjuncta, Stichel, 1910. Atelotypa tinea, Bates, 1868. Atelotypa trinitatis, Lathy, 1932. Atelotypa zerna, Hewitson, 1872. Alessa aemsis, Kramer, 1777. Alessa fournieri Lathy, 1958. Alessa hemierga Bates, 1867. Alessa lipera Bates, 1867. Alessa prema, Goddard, 1824. Alessa Rothschildi, Seitz, 1917. Alessa Telefi, Bois Duval, 1836. Alessa Thalidrias Bates, 1867. Alessa Telefi, Bois Duval, 1836. Amaranthus minerea, Kramer, 1776. Amphisalines Staudinger, 1888, 1 sp. Ancylurus Hubner, 1819, 15 spp. Ancylurus mellibos, Fabricius, 1777. Ancylurus miniola, Bates, 1868. Ancylurus rubrophyllum Stichel, 1909. Ancylurus aetius, Saunders, 1859. Ancylurus melior Stichel, 1910. Ancylurus paramba de Brera, 1994. Ancylurus patula Stichel, 1916. Ancylurus tedia, Kramer, 1777. Ancylurus alestes, Kramer, 1777. Ancylurus colubra, Saunders, 1859. Ancylurus mira, Hewitson, 1874. Ancylurus jurgensenii, Saunders, 1850. Ancylurus aristodorus, Maurice, 1838. Ancylurus formosissima, Hewitson, 1870. Ancylurus inca, Saunders, 1850. Anteros Hubner, 1819, 16 spp. Anteros organs Gallard and Brevignon, 1989. Archaeonympha drepana, Bates, 1868. Archaeonympha urichi, Wainwright, 1994. Argyrogramina amalfrida, Staudinger, 1887. Argyrogramina apramilla Hall and Wilmot, 1995. Argyrogramina alstonii, Smart, 1979. Argyrogramina Barine, Staudinger, 1887. Argyrogramina bonita Hall and Wilmot, 1995. Argyrogramina Callistina Hall and Wilmot, 1995. Argyrogramina Caesareon Lathy, 1958. Argyrogramina Salata Hall and Wilmot, 1995. Argyrogramina Chickamendicite Gallard, 1995. Argyrogramina Crocia, Godman and Salvin, 1878. Argyrogramina Denisi Gallard, 1995. Argyrogramina Glaucopes, Bates, 1868. Argyrogramina Johannes Marcy Brevignon, 1995. Argyrogramina Leptographia, Stichel, 1911. Argyrogramina Natalita Hall and Wilmot, 1995. Argyrogramina Inertia, Stichel, 1911. Argyrogramina Paxa Hall and Wilmot, 1998. Argyrogramina Pastasa Hall and Wilmot, 1996. Argyrogramina Placibilis, Stichel, 1910. Argyrogramina Pulchra, Talbot, 1929. Argyrogramina Physis, Stichel, 1911. Argyrogramina Prestigiosa, Stichel, 1929. Argyrogramina Occidentalis, Godman and Salvin, 1886. Argyrogramina Ramilli, Stickel, 1930. Argyrogramina Safarina, Staudinger, 1887. Argyrogramina Sebastiani Brevignon, 1995. Argyrogramina stilby, Goddard, 1824. Argyrogramina stickili, Talbot, 1929. Argyrogramina sublimis Brevinian and Gallard, 1995. Argyrogramina sabota, Hewitson, 1877. Argyrogramina talboti Brevinian and Gallard, 1998. Argyrogramina trochilea, Westwood, 1851. Argyrogramina vanillea, Bates, 1868. Arachoris, Fabricius, 1798, 21 spp. Bayotis Hubner, 1819, 20 spp. Bayotis Attali Hall and Wilmot, 1998. Bayotis Bacchanis Hewitson, 1874. Bayotis Bassanita Schaus, 1902. Bayotis Bars Hewitson, 1875. Bayotis Capreolus Stichel, 1910. Bayotis Sophissa, Hewitson, 1875. Bayotis coroniensis Litchi, 1946. Bayotis crucis Hewitson, 1874. Bayotis elegantula Hopfer, 1874. Bayotis eupreps, Bates, 1868. Bayotis Felix Hewitson, 1874. Bayotis Hisbon, Kramer, 1775. Bayotis Johanni Sharp, 1890. Bayotis Cadinii, C. of Felder and R. Felder, 1861. Bayotis Milanis Hubner, 1831. Bayotis Nicaea Godman and Salvin, 1889. Bayotis Prima, Bates, 1868. Bayotis Studingeri de Brera, 1994. Bayotis Sulfuria, R. Felder, 1869. Bayotis Zonata, R. Felder, 1869. Barbicornis Goddard, 1824, 1 sp. Brachyglines C. Felder and R. Felder, 1862, 4 spp. Calephilis Grote and Robinson, 1869, 45 spp. Callistium cleatus, Hewitson, 1866. Callistium maculosa, Bates, 1868. Calispila Antonii Brevinian, 1995. Calispila apatheta, Bates, 1868. Calispila Emilius, Kramer, 1775. Calispila fannea, Godman, 1903. Calispila Gallardi Brevinian, 1995. Calispila gyges, Stichel, 1911. Calispila meonoides, Godman, 1903. Calispila rhodope, Hewitson, 1853. Calispila sataroides, Lathy, 1932. Calispila thera, Hewitson, 1858. Calispila zinger, Stoll, 1790. Calidna Doubleday, 1847, 18 spp. My name is Aria. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.